That fellow, though, in a distant first, being the frontrunner Donald Trump. This new lineup, if you will, in Iowa comes just after the first major Republican candidate dropped out of the race. Former Vice President Mike Pence making the surprise announcement this weekend. And joining me now is Marc Short, senior advisor to Mike Pence, also the former chief of staff to Vice President Pence. It's good to see you, Marc. What was the final straw? Why do you think he did not gain traction?
Well, Kate, I think that the campaign afforded him an opportunity to give an admonition to the direction that our party is headed. I think that in 2016, when he joined the ticket, there was a promise to govern as conservatives, and I think that he and Donald Trump did, whether or not it's border policy, historic tax relief, we did rebuilding the military, or reforming the courts. But I think today, the front runner of our party is running a campaign based on grievances. And there's no real promise to conservatives to how he'd govern. In fact, if you look at his campaign messaging, proposing perhaps the biggest tax increase on American history with a 10% tax on all products coming to the United States, abandonment of our international commitments, refusal to address the fiscal crisis that we're in. There's nothing that the campaign is offering to conservatives. Instead, it's basically, you help me fight my grievances. And I think the campaign afforded the vice president that chance to give caution to our party about the direction that it's headed. But I think that the reality is that Donald Trump remains the front runner for our party. And, other candidates will have to make decisions about timing for them. But I think some of the conventional wisdom that is out there would suggest it says, hey, we just need to narrow down to one-on-one. And I don't think that applies here. I think the reality is that as candidates drop out, it'll build more of an inevitability of Donald Trump as the nominee.
Oh,
and so I do think it's a little bit different dynamic.
But when it comes to, what you said that the campaign afforded Mike Pence, people were not buying it. You can see it in the polls that it didn't cut through. People were not giving him another look. But I wonder then if this, Pence leaving the race, coupled with Trump's dominance, and also even Mike Johnson's rise to becoming House Speaker, is that confirmation that 2020 election denialism is a prerequisite or at least a big factor in people being able to win leadership positions in the Republican Party?
I don't know, Kate. I think that there's no doubt there's a sense of allegiance in our party to Donald Trump, and I think some of it could be election denialism. I think a lot of it also is believing that there was a lot of accomplishments those 4 years, and so even if we don't agree with him about January 6th, we want to stand with him moving forward. So I don't know if it's as simple as that. And look, I'm well familiar with Speaker Johnson's amicus brief, but I don't put him perhaps in the same crowd. I think that Mike Johnson is a committed conservative who has been a man of conviction throughout his public career, and so I'm not necessarily attaching some of the same election denialism there.
Who do you think is now the strongest candidate against Trump?
Kate, I think that right now that Donald Trump is on a pathway with each ensuing indictment that continues to rally more people behind him. I think, as you mentioned, there is a fight for second place, but that's a distant fight from where Donald Trump is. Are
you seeing inevitability then?
I don't want to say inevitability because I think there's still an enormous amount of legal hurdles that face Donald Trump. But I'm not so sure that there's a compelling case for anyone else in the field to overtake him where our party is right now.
One of the questions, sorry, can I ask you this real quick?
Yeah.
Pence joined most of the other Republicans running for president in raising his hand on that debate stage to say that he would support whoever the eventual nominee is, whoever it is. Obviously, the question and the suggestion there is if it is Donald Trump. Now that he no longer is bound by any RNC rules, that was part of it, to get on the debate stage, do you see Mike Pence really voting for Trump if he gets the nomination?
I think that Mike's a man of his word, and I think that he's been a lifelong Republican. I think he's been committed to our party, and as you said, it was a prerequisite for being a participant in the debates.
But how do you make sense of that when he's on the right side of history?
There's a difference.
And he stood up for his ideals? How is that standing up for an ideal?
And I think he's always going to make that case to American people. But at the same time, Kate, I think that if you're a conservative like he is, and you look at the direction of our country under Joe Biden, there's no way you can support Joe Biden, and so I think that that there's certainly a conflict there for sure, and it's hard to support somebody who abandons the rule of law. But I'll let Mike answer the question as to who he'll actually vote for. But it's hard for me to see going out and campaigning against the Republican nominee.
It's great to have you, Mark. It was great to have your perspective throughout the rest of this primary.
Thanks for having me.
Thanks, buddy.